Hi guys, this week's lesson is a chord solo on a blues in F. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I made it and how you can make some exercises that will help you make your own chord solos. Chord solos have probably been part of standard repertoire for jazz guitar players since Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass, especially if you're playing hard bop and bebop like styles. So it's something that's really worthwhile checking out. It gives you a completely different sound and something to vary your solos with instead of just playing single note lines all the time. It's of course also useful to check out because if you can play a solo with chords, you can also comp a song pretty freely. That gives you the ability to react much better to what's going on around you in a band situation. Let's first just look at the solo that I made, and then I'm going to present some exercises, and then I'm going to go over the solo and talk about how it's made. So before I analyze the solo, then I'm just going to give you a few exercises and talk about how I made them and probably how you should make your own exercises, because I think this is the kind of thing where if you make your own exercises you're probably going to get much more out of it, and you'll also get exercises that fit you, and you probably need that for this kind of soloing. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I already covered this in my lesson on soloing with chords. So you can check that out. I'll leave a link to a playlist with some of the videos that are relevant to this lesson about soloing with chords as a card in this video, so you can check it out there. Let's just first make some exercises. So since this is a blues in F, the first exercise is of course just to harmonize a B flat major scale with an F7 chord. That would be something like this. So there's not really anything very mysteriously going on here. As you can see, I try to keep it easy to play. So I might be changing the melody, but I'm not changing the chord for every new melody note, because that's just practical, and sometimes it's just easier to play. Stuff where you can just once in a while only move one finger and get the next chord. For the rest, yeah, well, I'm changing every time we get to the fourth over the chord. When we're working on these dominant seventh chords, I need to change the chord a bit, because I don't want to have a chord that has this sound, so which is the fourth over a dominant. So I changed the chord to a sus chord. Because that works, and in this case that's the only thing you really need to change. So that's the only place where there's something that's not directly an F7 but an F7 sus, or in this case that looks like a C minor 7 shell voicing. So let's try and do the same for the fourth degree, so that's the B flat 7. As you can see, again, I'm changing the chord when I get to the fourth degree over the relative to the root, so in this case the E flat, and I'm making it a sus chord. For the rest, the voicings are sort of a mix of triad-based voicings, a bit of chordal harmony, and drop 2 voicings. Because I find that those are sort of easy to play fast. If I had to solo with like these cluster-like voicings, it's going to get quite difficult to keep them moving and to make it sound good. So the combination of the triad voicings and the drop 2 voicings and the chordal harmony is just easy, and also fits the style quite well, because this is something that sort of belongs mostly in the hard bop, bebop type repertoire. So the next example is playing an F major scale with the G minor chord, which is the 2 chord in the final cadence. That exercise is like this. Yeah, there's not too much to talk about really. Like, again, if you check out my lesson on triads for jazz chords, you'll sort of get the idea about how to come up with voicings like this. I left the 13 voicing in there, which is something I wouldn't really land on it, but at least unless I'm playing something that's well, a little bit later than hard bop anyway, so sort of Herbie Hancock sounds or later. But I mean, it's in there. It's an okay passing chord to have. And then I'm skipping up again. It's a mix of triads, drop 2 voicings. Ah yeah, and on this note, on the C, I actually chose to kind of make it to a sus. So I'm replacing the 3rd with the 11. Which I think works really well in the context of a G minor when it's a 2 chord. So that's about it. Yeah, for making these exercises now I'm just kind of at random doing something with the melody ascending. It could be worthwhile to check it out on each set of strings too, so that you would do something like with the melody on the high E string, or with the melody on the B string. Stuff like that, just to check it out. The whole idea that you get an idea about what is playable, what can I use when I need that, because when you're improvising, that's probably what you need anyway. And of course this you need to do in more keys in the long run. For now it works okay to just do it in this key when you're working on a blues in F, because this is the one you need, but yeah, you're not always only going to be playing this on a blues in F, I hope. The last example is the C7 altered. So that sounds like this. Again, not too much interesting stuff going on in terms of the choice of voicings. Since C7 altered is a scale derived from it's a melodic minor mode. We don't need to worry about the 11, because this time it's a sharp 11, so it fits really well. Actually, that's this voicing. It fits really well on the chord, because it's, in this case, harmonized as a sort of flat 5. So that works really well. So now let's just go over the solo and talk a little bit about how that works. So even though when you're working on this you're probably worried more about chords and chord voicings and technique, in the end this is of course about melody and rhythm, like any solo. So if you really want to understand what the solo is, then it could really be useful to just play the melody without the chords, something like. Just to get an idea, like, okay, well, where did this come from? What is it? Because I'm not really thinking about the choice of chords when I'm playing it. I'm sort of thinking probably mostly rhythm, and then secondarily also about melody. The first 2 bars, well, the first bar is, and then I'm playing something that's derived from that in the second bar. So, and then on the B flat, I'm sort of altering it to fit the B flat chord, so I'm playing. And what happens is actually you're playing sort of F, something that's F major, and then on the B flat 7 I'm playing a similar melody that's F minor. And this is something that I'm using really a lot on blues in general. You can find it in Turnaround, on a Coleman blues, where it goes, which does exactly the same. It's a great technique to make connecting melodies on the blues in F. On the third bar, I'm playing this, which is chromatic passing chord. I did a lesson on that, which I'll link to. It will be in the playlist about soloing the chords too. And I'm using a sort of similar idea in bar 4, but then on an F7 altered, so it's like. Here it's not really a motif, but I'm just using the same technique. And then that resolves to the B flat 7. And this is of course the same idea, where I'm using, I have one melody that fits the B flat 7, and when the chord changes to B diminished, I'm altering that melody so that it fits on the B diminished. And I find that that's, again, this whole thing that you're not only trying to just play some notes that fit on each chord, but you're actually trying to make a bigger melodic statement or something that's more coherent and connected over several bars. This is the kind of stuff you want to check out for that, also in your chord solos. Okay, and then we're back in bar 7, and that's just this, which is basically this C minor melody, which is a fairly standard C minor melody harmonized with F7 chords. On the A minor 7 flat 5 D7 altered, I'm playing basically just a line, and then it resolves to this G minor 9 chord, and on the G minor I'm playing, which is some beginning on the 9 and then running from the 5th of the chord of the scale, and I'm using this C major triad as a diatonic passing chord, which is something I do quite often on this situation. In this situation, probably. Well, I think it sounds good and it's extremely easy to play. So that's worth checking out, and you can do that in several places. So the whole thing about having a sort of diatonic passing chord when moving in the scale can work really well. It's something that you can check out also. On the C7 altered in bar 10, well, yeah, it's all sort of based around this drop 2 voicing. And then I left this melody alone and didn't play a chord under it. Sometimes that works better, somehow. It gets too heavy if I play the chord all the time. And then I'm going to the final turnaround. That's pretty straightforward. F7, F13. Then on the D7 I'm using an F sharp diminished in inversion. And then using sort of this chord as a sort of pedal point. Playing the scale run on the G minor 7, and then these two C7 altered voicings, and then that might resolve to an F9. So that was a really long explanation on the blues in F, a bit longer than I intended actually, but at least that give you some of the melodic and rhythmic ideas that I use when I'm playing chord solos and the way I approach it. What I didn't mention and what I should mention again is also that I kind of hear these harmonized lines. It's really useful to have sort of an association with big band, because big band is usually varied so much rhythmically. It's not only 8-note lines, so you have a better rhythmic language that will fit better in the context if you think like that when you're playing it. So that's a useful tip. Like, listen to some Count Basie and try and have that feel when you're trying to make your lines. And again, yeah, it is more about the melody in the end than it is about the chords. Harmonizing the chords is a skill that you can practice a bit and get into your system. I mean, you need to work on it, but you can actually just work at it, and it's a technique, and then you'll get there. In any case, I hope that you can use the stuff that I went over here. You can go to my website and download a PDF of the examples, and that's also the transcription of the blues that I played. Of course, you can also, when you're there, subscribe to my newsletter. Then you'll get an email every time I make a new lesson, which is pretty much every week. And if you like the lesson, you can of course like it here on YouTube, and you can also subscribe to my channel. That's also one way to stay up to date. If you have any comments or suggestions as to what I should work on, or things I should change, then let me know in the comments here below. And you can of course also connect with me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Google+, and let me know there. It's always nice to get feedback, so let me know if you have ideas for stuff I should work on in the lessons here. So yeah, until next week, thank you for watching.